Diplomacy and economics after the Revolution and during the Confederation period were quite tricky, mainly because our two major trading partners prior to the war, Spain and Britain, were now considering us enemies. Early Spain was having issues with us, and Britain considers us an enemy. Um, Britain refused to remove soldiers on the western frontier. They had British soldiers in American forts on American territory. Spain essentially had the same thing in the south. Both of them were encouraging Indians to resist Native Americans in the west. Um, the big issue with Spain, less than Britain, was the use of the Mississippi River. After the Seven Years' War, Spain controlled most of the New France uh, territory west of what the British controlled. And the Spanish were refusing the United States the ability to use the port of New Orleans, which essentially negated the whole benefit of having the Mississippi River as a transportation system. So that becomes an issue with the Spanish. Um, Also, the economy was just in shambles during the Confederation period. There's a number of reasons for this. One is the fact that the United States was no longer a colony of Britain. So, both because the British were trying to punish the United States and because of mercantilism and keeping the trade within the British Empire, the Americans were largely cut out of the British trade empire. The British also considered Americans as British citizens, as subjects of the king. So they were impressing sailors on the sea. In other words, they were capturing American vessels, and then anybody that looked British, they would take on the British warships to serve for the king. The British also closed down the trade with the West Indies, which had been very valuable for those New England shipbuilders. And as a way to punish the British, the Americans actually started issuing tariffs and tonnage fees on British goods coming into the United States. This was really awkward because each state could have different levels of tariff. So the tariff might be 10% in New York, 20% in Boston, 30% in Charleston. The British would play the states off against each other. So they would send their ship into, say, the port of New York City because the tariff there was the lowest. And it's just causing economic chaos. And within this chaos, and because the economy is so bad, soldiers who had fought in the revolution weren't getting the IOUs that they were owed. The civilians who had donated money or loaned money or had loaned supplies weren't getting their payments back either. So it's all economic chaos during the Confederation. And without that interstate trade and without the ability to have any sort of military defense, things became quite chaotic and the economy just suffered.